Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Welcome back. I hope your weekend was absolutely outstanding and you have adjusted to the time change. We're in Arizona. We don't move our clocks around out here, but we are very glad to have you here. We got a great stream planned ahead. Quick preview, then we'll jump in for further detail. But we've got some John Brennan clips to go through today. 3 of them queued up. We got the subway clip, which you may have seen before, which was this one over here. We'll go through that. Then we've got this other event clip. And then we have another event clip from John Brennan. He's getting upset in all 3 of them because he's being asked questions about his criminality. And nobody likes to talk about that now that he's been referred over to the DOJ. We remember Jim Jordan had done this, and we'll just refresh our recollection on this to see what the latest is with this deep state hack before we talk about some other deep state hacks here today, because we've got a bunch of them to talk about. We've got more from the Comey case and some interesting replies coming out in this one. You can see lots of redactions coming out. This is the Lindsay Halligan battle with Comey over lying to Congress. And so we'll see what the latest is with this one. We've got a reply from the Trump DOJ that will unpack. We've also got news about Jack Smith, who apparently is now unveiling his strategy a little bit now that senators are demanding that he come in and testify. We've got Ted Cruz saying we got to impeach Judge Boasberg, and Marsha Blackburn and the president are all out talking about this, saying Jack Smith needs to have repercussions for his criminality. And so we'll go into all of that. Then we got a little bit of Letitia news, because Letitia James has also now lost. Womp womp. Remember, she was filing some motions to try to force Lindsay Halligan to come out and make a little log, like a little, book report that Letitia could read whenever she is, doing whatever she does when she reads. And we'll go into the filing because it has now come down an order from the judge and an opinion. Tishy loses. So we'll break that down. We also saw Tish was out there with Mom Donnie. Oh my gosh, this little commie is apparently going to win. It's not good for anyone. It actually might be good. So we all get to have a little dose of communism in New York City. But Lisa Cook, another alleged mortgage fraudster who's not been charged yet, also out talking about that today. And then you may have heard the story about an ISIS plot that was busted. Well, we got the indictment queued up here, or the criminal complaint rather, and it is a big one. 73 pages of just ISIS terror goodness that was apparently averted, fortunately, thanks to our FBI. But we got photos. We'll get into the document. We'll see what the latest is on this. Lots of images. They're in gun stores, and we'll piece together exactly what's going on. But it is a beautiful day, my friends. I hope that your weekend was just amazing. We had a great members only stream this morning where we talked about mostly election stuff. There's a lot of election news out there. Everybody's bracing for impact to see what happens tomorrow. So we want to shout out to our members. We'll have an after party today after the show. If you want to come and join us, we'd love to have you. We debrief, talk about some other things, and get into more business there. So thanks for supporting our work. Thanks for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for sharing the show with a friend or family member and everybody else you've ever met in your entire life. We appreciate it. All right, now let's get to it, because we've got some business to attend to, and it starts like this. John Brennan, the former CIA director, not happy out there, getting asked some pretty tough questions about his involvement in the Steele dossier, Crossfire Hurricane, Arctic Frost, all of the setup that was happening for years to try to smear Trump and the Republicans, but also the laptop letter and the 51 morons that he was a part of who signed that letter, all now coming to the forefront. And so we've got 3 clips here, one in the DC Metro that we'll come back to, and 2 from an interesting individual called Tom Speciale. And you can see there was a little entourage there at some event. Our friend, the researcher over on X, she's amazing, at listen_to_learn. She does great reports, great clips. And she was clipping from this. This was a conversation with the CNN director, former CIA director, John Brennan, who was on a bunch of these emails trying to set Trump up, trying to create that fake report for Obama in December 2016 so they could smear Trump on the way in, or even coup him out of the presidency if they could create enough momentum about this. But apparently they were over at the Hayden Center the directors a conversation on intelligence. Why'd they bring these people out? They have none. They signed letters that are dead wrong or actually just fraudulent. So we've got this from Tom Speciale, and Tom was also over here. He says, after the conference on Thursday, I confronted former CIA Director Brennan. This is Tom A. Speciale, number 2 at Speciale for Virginia. We'll repost this over on our timeline right at the top so you can give it a follow over there. But after the conference on Thursday, he says, I went and confronted CIA Director John Brennan about his signing the 51 intelligence officers memo, idiots, knowing that the Hunter Biden laptop was real and it was not Russian disinformation at all. And we know why they did this. We read through this report. Congress brought in Mike Morrell, and he was former CIA, maybe director and other things. And he said, oh, we wanted Joe Biden to win. So they organized this letter and they raced it through the CIA. And the congressional report said that they worked at CIA buildings. The CIA academic body or whatever that reviews publications approved it. And many of the people who signed it were actually paid contractors at the CIA. So the CIA paid for it. They let them write their little stupid letter in their offices. And Mike Morrell was a contractor who was a part of the CIA. So the list is just ridiculous. The CIA helped to rig it, and they set this up so that they could give Joe Biden a talking point. They sent it over to Anthony Blinken, and then Anthony Blinken thanked him for giving him that little talking point. So as we know, John Brennan was involved in that, 51 former idiots, or just propagandists, fraudsters, and liars. But he got asked a question today, courtesy of Thomas A. Speciale. And let's listen in on this one, because this is what went down with Brennan. Rewind this a bit.
Why didn't you know on the Hunter Biden laptop? Why so? Because I think, and you misrepresented that. We never said it was disinformation. We said it was Russian influence operations, which is what they do. There's a big difference between influence operations. No, you don't know that. Yes, you don't know.
Salt.
The literature said it had all the hallmarks of, I believe.
Nice. Nicely done. So anytime you can get him fired up that bad, okay, right there, poking him in the chest, boom. Assault. Arrest that man. And so he's just getting, obviously I'm being a little bit, aggressive with my criminal prosecution here, but he was very upset about that. And he's going to do the same talking point that we've heard from him about 1,000 times on MSNBC, where he says, we never said it was fake. We just said it kind of looked fake to us, or it might be fake, but we never said it was fake. And we go, we know what you did. You were very clear and careful with your language. You were implying so that other people in the media could say, well, I mean, the CIA is saying this, might be disinformation. I mean, the 51 former experts said so, and they all signed it so that they could literally hand deliver it to Joe. And he used it at the debate, and it was a CIA operation. Now he's getting asked about that. Ooh, John. Why are you so mad, John? Just answer the questions. You don't have to assault this nice gentleman multiple times with your disgusting finger right in his chest. He's going to have to throw that suit out, or at least get it dry cleaned a few times. So we know John is not happy about anything that's coming down. And he was also asked about this as well. What a beautiful scene. And a little backstory on this. We remember that Jim Jordan, not long ago, sent a criminal referral over to Pam Bondi. And if you missed that, here's just a quick recap, very short document, about 2 pages. And here is what Jim Jordan said. He said, hey, Pam Bondi, you're at the DOJ over here. We got a problem with the deep state. We write to refer significant evidence that John Brennan, that guy we just saw poking everybody, he knowingly made false statements during a transcribed interview when he came in front of Congress back in May 2023. While testifying, he made numerous willfully and intentionally false statements, just like liar Comey, who we're going to talk about in a minute, of material fact that was contradicted by the record established by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence and the CIA. Now, under 18 U.S. Code Section 1001, a witness commits a crime if you make knowingly and willfully any materially false statement or representation during a congressional investigation. Can't do that. Making false statements before Congress is a crime that undermines the integrity of the committee's constitutional duty to perform oversight. Now, on January 6, 2017, the real insurrection, January 6, 2017. The CIA, and Obama is still in the office right there. The CIA, Brennan, FBI, Comey, National Security Agency, and others published a declassified version of the ICA, assessing Russian activities and intentions in recent U.S. elections. Now, the document that was fake stated, Russia developed a clear preference for Trump. No, they didn't. And they aspired to help him win. No, they didn't. This conclusion is now known to be false, liar. It was based in part on the Steele dossier, which was Hillary Clinton campaign propaganda, which was referenced in the ICA main body text and further detailed in a 2-page annex, right? They buried it in an annex. And then they said, we got other intelligence. What intelligence? Can you tell us what it is? Oh, is it Hillary Clinton campaign propaganda? No. Because if they put that in the main body, everyone would know what it is. So they buried it in a classified annex and still use it as a predicate for the rest of their fake report. The Steele dossier was a series of reports with baseless accusations saying that Trump had ties to Russia. It was delivered by the individual called Christopher Steele. And we learned that he was working for Perkins Coie and Fusion GPS. And who hired Perkins Coie? Oh yeah, Hillary Clinton did. In July 2025, the Trump administration declassified numerous documents that show that their main findings from Brennan and Obama and Clapper and the rest of them were false, liars, and that the Obama administration and Barack himself knowingly fabricated the findings for the purpose of undermining the Trump administration. Now, the newly declassified evidence also confirms that Brennan, who's now freaked out, falsely testified to the committee. During a transcribed interview back in May 2023, Brennan stated, the CIA was not involved at all with the Steele dossier. Matt Gaetz said to him, shout out to Matt Gaetz, says, all right, so the fact that the DNC was providing financing to the Steele dossier and their development doesn't give you concern that it might be partisan? Doesn't give you concern? Brennan says, again, well, that was happening back in 2016. And I understand how you were able to tie this to my reference to my expertise, but I don't see how that has any relevance to the Hunter Biden laptop now. Gaetz. Well, you said that you signed this letter that we now acknowledge Joe Biden misused in a debate to fool the American public because you're this great Russia expert. So I'm trying to understand your Russia expertise. You said, all the hallmarks of Russian. And you were involved in analyzing this information. So since you can speak so clearly on Russia when it comes to their hallmarks of disinformation, maybe you can answer some questions about the 2017 ICA. He says, no, I was not involved in analyzing the dossier at all. I said the first time I actually saw it, it was after the election and the CIA was not involved at all with the dossier. Wrong. Yeah, you were. You shoved it in an annex. You can direct that to the FBI's and others. Gaetz. Okay, John, were you aware of the FBI's involvement with the dossier? Yes, he says. Well, there's an annex in the ICA, which was classified. Nobody could see it. The intelligence community assessment that the Bureau asked to be included there. Okay, FBI, he's pointing their fingers to them. It was their purview, their area, and not ours. But a report drafted in 2017, now declassified, says Brennan is a liar. According to the report, the ICA included supporting evidence for their false claim that Russia aspired to help Trump. The report directed the reader to go to Annex A for any additional reporting from an FBI source on Russian influence effort. However, Annex A, which was only included in the highest classified version, was a 2-page summary of the Steele dossier, along with some analysis that struggled to imply that some dossier findings might have been corroborated by the intelligence community. The CIA officer who served as the lead author of this ICA told the House, Congress, that he drafted Annex A in, quote, coordination with the FBI. Okay. The CIA officer drafted it in coordination with the FBI, and John Brennan lied about it. He says, no, we didn't have anything to do with it. It was just the FBI. No. A CIA officer told Congress the CIA wrote it. Busted. Ultimately, according to the documents declassified by the Trump administration, the decision to incorporate info from the Steele dossier was jointly made, they said, from the CIA and the FBI, working together like two little peas in a pod. A senior FBI analyst confirmed this fact, telling Congress that after debating for several days whether we should put it in there, upper levels at the FBI, Comey, liar, and CIA, Brennan, liar, decided to put it in. Now, Brennan's assertion that the CIA, quote, was not involved at all can't be reconciled with the facts because it's not true. As the newly declassified documents show, a CIA officer drafted the annex with the summary of the dossier. Brennan made the ultimate decision, along with Comey, to include info from the dossier in the ICA, and as discussed further, Brennan overruled the CIA officers who objected to the inclusion of the material. A little more, saying Brennan testified that the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference in this. Jim Jordan said, "Hey, John, who'd you learn about the Steele dossier from? How'd you learn about the dossier in September?" Brennan, "I received a copy of it from the FBI when they wanted a summary in there, attached to the ICA. This was before we went to Trump Tower and briefed Trump when Comey was going to talk to Trump about the dossier, which again was Clinton campaign propaganda. And the CIA was very much opposed to having any reference or inclusion of the dossier in the fake ICA. And so they sent over a copy of the dossier," says Brennan, "to say that this was going to be separate from the rest of that assessment. And that's when the CIA was given formal access to it." Now, this claim, says Jim Jordan, is contradicted by multiple sources that reveal Brennan's support for including the dossier. It was his decision. According to the CIA memo declassified by the Trump admin, when two CIA mission center leaders confronted John, they said, "Hey, John, you got some pretty specific flaws in your document here." Brennan disregarded their concerns, appearing to be more swayed by the dossier's general conformity with existing theories than by legitimate tradecraft concerns. Brennan later formalized his position in writing. He said, quote, "My bottom line is that I believe that the information warrants inclusion in the report." He decided it. Similarly, the House report notes that when senior CIA officers demanded that he remove the dossier, Brennan refused to remove it. When the officers presented evidence of the many flaws in the document, he said, "Yes, but doesn't it ring true?" As he sips his spritzer. Ultimately, Brennan had to order the dossier over the objections of the CIA professionals, and they shoved it in. So now, as the newly declassified docs demonstrate, CIA former director Brennan eagerly wanted to include this. He documented it in writing. It directly contradicts his testimony that the CIA was very much opposed to having it included because as the director, he spoke for the agency. Now, Trey Gowdy also nailed him on one. On May 23rd, Brennan also came in and testified. Russian active measures during 2016. During the hearing, he falsely asserted that the Steele dossier was not used in any way as a basis for the ICA. Although that statement was made beyond the 5-year statute of limitations, it indicated his willingness to lie to Congress. Okay, that's an old one, and it's expired. Now, do you know if the Bureau ever relied on the Steele dossier? Part of any court filings, applications, petitions, or pleadings? I have no awareness. Did the CIA rely on it? No. Why not? Well, because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done. It was not. Yes, it was. And it was shoved in there as an annex, and he knew it. Now, that's part of a pattern of lying and repeatedly doing so. So we're asking about a conspiracy. And what were these are much more recent, right? These are 2023 demands. And so the old one, yeah, that one may have expired, but you say it's part of a pattern of a long ongoing conspiracy of which he is a part. And that is just another act in furtherance of the conspiracy. So we'd include that as another overt act, even though the statute of limitations may have been expired. Now, as discussed above, Jim Jordan says, the report and the CIA memo confirmed not only that the Steele dossier was used as a basis for the intelligence assessment that was fake, but that Brennan insisted on its inclusion. This stands in dark contrast to his testimony. He said, we didn't use it, but he did. So this was a brazen lie. It was an attempt to knowingly and willfully testify falsely and fictitiously to material facts. We therefore make this referral over to you, Pam. It warrants a charge for at least violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 1001 and false statements to Congress. Sincerely, Jim Jordan, chairman of the Judiciary Committee over in the House of Representatives. So we remember that. Now Brennan is being asked about this. We've got a minute and 11 seconds of delicious goodness from On the DC Metro, courtesy of Nicholas Bolisi with a watermark here. Here's Brennan in D.C. walking around. If you've ever been to D.C., this is the metro. He's there just kind of hanging out, waiting for the train. And here is what happens.
I'm just trying to get you to clear it up. If you saw the dossier before the election.
Read my memoir.
I've read excerpts of it. But
Read the rest of it.
Are you concerned about a possible indictment coming from DOJ?
Yeah, he is.
What do you think about the situation now?
Come on, John. Look at
Anything
your
you
phone.
can say, sir. Just want to clear the record. Give you a chance.
Make a phone call. Scroll Twitter. Okay. Was it on Blue Sky?
But did you see it, the Steele dossier, or not? That's pretty much the gist of the situation, right?
Where's my train at? Oh, is he on Tinder? Look at that nice woman he just was looking at.
You have nothing to say, sir, about it?
He's scrolling the news.
All my memoir.
Will you be involved at all in testimony before the Judiciary Committee in the coming weeks? Or coming months? Could you just maybe tell us what you think about the direction of the intelligence community now under Trump?
Perfect. Yeah, that's good, man. That dude wasn't closer to the rail. Otherwise, John Brennan might have done a little house of cards, you know? We don't want that to happen. So he gets on his phone and he just starts scrolling through the news. He says, read my memoir, you know? And man, something happened on his neck there. I don't know if he cut himself shaving.
Anything you can say, sir.
Or if maybe that was a little dart from a tranquilizer gun or something like that over there. John, don't you say anything. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama right there in the neck. See that little Band-Aid there? Yeah, right there. Or vampires or something. It could be many things. Or could he just cut his neck shaving? But I wonder why he cut his neck shaving. Probably because he's a little nervous out there. I'm going to get indicted. Doorbell rings. Ah! He slices his neck. We don't want that to happen, of course. So be careful out there, John. We want to see you in prison. All right, now, so that is another clip. We've got a little bit more. We had this from the researcher, and she clipped this one out. So she thought that, man, they were going to cut this little exchange out from their final publication. But she says they didn't. She says, actually, he said Tulsi Gabbard was the one who was politicizing the intelligence. But here the researcher says, I saw a video earlier of Tom Speciale, the guy over from the Finger Point, this guy right here, who got his chest obliterated by a disgusting deep state hack, says confronting him about the Russian collusion hoax. And it may have happened again at this little event. You can see they brought all of these morons out for some panel on intelligence. We're going to try not to get dumber listening to these idiots, but here we are.
I want to introduce myself. My name's Tom Speciale.
What's up, Tom?
I've been a career intelligence officer for over 20 years, in the military for over 34 years. I recently left the DNI as a senior advisor for Tulsi Gabbard on counterintelligence and security. And in fact, I made many of the suggestions on dismantling some of the things that are being dismantled, and also made some suggestions on improvements, which I'd love to talk to you guys afterwards and get your feedback on, because hopefully it's going to be going to some important desks very shortly. I want to agree completely, Director, with your assessment on Iran being on their heels. We've got to keep them on their heels until they reform. We've got to do that. I disagree on the deep state, only because Trump says it's the deep state. But as we all know, it's really just the entrenched bureaucrats that run the country. I'll get to my question, I will.
Yeah, please.
But I want to establish sort of my bona fides on this question before I ask it, because I really hesitated to put you guys on the spot on this in public. But if you're not going to be at the after hours, I got to take my chance now. I was at the DNI when the first ICA was released regarding cyber influence on the 2016 election. Nice. I was there. I was working in the NIM. I read it. I also was involved in setting up the Principals Committee meeting that took place in December that resulted in President Obama directing a more fulsome, because I understand the difference between a cyber ICA and a total whole-of-government ICA intelligence collection on Russian involvement or influence in the election. And I noticed immediately in the ICA, the second ICA, because I had access to the classified ICA, that there were statements in that ICA that were not supported with the sourcing that was associated to the ICA, specifically that that Putin had directed the action and that Putin had, that the Russians were actively trying to support President Trump instead of just sow chaos.
Your question.
My question. There was an email that went around from General Clapper to yourself and Hayden. I'm sorry, not Hayden.
That's right.
Yourself and Comey, et cetera, that basically said we all got to get on board with this, otherwise it isn't going to work, basically.
Got it. And so we're going to pause there and look at that email because it's a good one. Svetlana Lokova has said this is the email that he's asking about that Brennan is not happy about. Says it proves that Brennan and Clapper conspired to delegitimize President Trump. And here is the email itself. You can see we start at the beginning, and this one's coming from Admiral Michael Rogers, and he sent this one back December 22nd, 2016. Trump is going to get sworn in January 20th in a month, just less than a month from now. And so he sends this from Michael Rogers, an admiral, NSA, DUSA, USN, sends this over to everybody. James Clapper, DNI, John Brennan, the guy on the stage on the right, and James Comey, who's also been indicted for his lies, says, this is our subject, Russian response planning, classification, we're morons. Jim, John, and Jim. Why do they have to classify fake stuff? It's all fake anyways. They say, hey guys, this is from Michael Rogers, who's trying to be an honest person here. He says, hey, Jim, John, and Jim, idiots. I've just returned from a TDY overseas, and I've been updated on the current status of our efforts to manufacture a joint product related to Russian attribution and intent for the DNC and the DCC hacks. Okay, we have to blame the Russians for hacking Hillary and the DNC. Now, I know that this activity is on a fast track. Why? Because Trump's coming in soon, and they don't want him to get control of these agencies, do they? And that folks have been working very hard to put together a product that can be provided to the president, Obama. However, I wanted to reach out to you directly to let you know of some concerns I have with what I'm hearing from my folks. Specifically, Admiral Rogers says, I asked my team if they had sufficient access to the underlying intelligence and sufficient time to review that intelligence. On both points, my team raised concerns. They were clear that at the staff level, folks have been forward-leaning and trying to ensure that we have an opportunity to review and weigh in. But I'm concerned that given the expedited nature of this activity, my folks aren't fully comfortable saying that they have had enough time to review all of the intelligence to be absolutely confident in their assessments. To be clear, I am not saying that we disagree substantively, but I do want to make sure that when we are asked in the future whether we can absolutely stand behind the paper, that we don't have any reason to hesitate because of the process. Admiral Rogers says, now I know that you agree that this is something that we need to be 100% comfortable with before we present it to the president, Obama. We have one chance to get this right, and it's critical that we do so. If the intent is to create an integrated product that is CIA, FBI, NSA, all jointly authored that we can all defend, Rogers says we need a process that allows us to all be comfortable. And I'm concerned we're not there yet. In addition, if the NSA is intended to be a co-author of this product, I personally expect to see even the most sensitive evidence related to the conclusion. Like, I want to see it myself. However, if your intent is to create a CIA only or CIA FBI authored product, then I will stand down on these concerns. Like, if you don't want the director of the NSA and the commander of US Cyber Command, if you don't want me on there, just let me know. You guys can run with your little report. I'll step out. No problem. I would welcome your thoughts on these points and any adjustments we might make to the process to ensure that we have all the necessary level of confidence in the final assessment from Admiral Michael Rogers, NSA Director and Commander Cyber Command. Seems like a pretty reasonable voice in this conversation. And so what do they say back to him after all of that? So we have a response now. James Clapper, DNI, Director of National Intelligence, the same dude who approved the new intelligence assessment via his staff, his assistant. He's like, can you send this email so that I don't send it from my email? She's like, sure. Sends the email, per the president's request, we're going to open up a new ICA to go and try to find fault with Trump. So Clapper responds December 22nd. He's firing out a bunch of emails. Guess who gets it? Mike Rogers, the guy we just read from, John Brennan, former CIA director, and James Comey. CC'd his person called Stephanie at the DNI. So they respond, okay, hey, Mike, Admiral, John, and Jim. This is James Clapper speaking. I understand your concern. It is essential that we, CIA, NSA, FBI, ODNI, be on the same page and are all supportive of the report in the highest tradition of, quote, that's our story and we're sticking to it. This is something that this CIA has provided this to the NIC, the complete draft generated by the ad hoc fusion cell. We will facilitate as much mutual transparency as possible as we complete the report, but more time is not negotiable. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities since we must do this on such a compressed schedule. Why do they have to go so fast? James Clapper, DNI, says, this is one project that has to be a team sport. So, Mike, shut your mouth and get on board because we need you on this. We need all of the agencies because they need everybody to come out and say Trump got influenced by the Russians or the Russians stole the election from Hillary. And then to smear him the entire first term once they can't remove him, which is ultimately where this needs to go. And say, can we create enough here? Can we create momentum so that it doesn't get certified? We can say the Russians stole it. It's a coup attempt. So he now is getting asked that question. So a little bit of pause on that. That's what he's talking about. Let's get back to it. Here's Brennan with the response.
And I think that email puts everybody in the crosshairs. I would like to hear what your justification was for supporting the dossier that was known to be false being used as source material in the second ICA.
I don't know who put you up to this.
Nobody put me up to this, sir. I'm here on my own.
I don't know what role you played or who you are, but there's a bunch of bullshit that you just passed on. Absolutely.
The emails are clear, sir.
Bullshit.
The emails are clear.
Bullshit.
The emails are clear. The second question
No, I think we're going to go.
is the
Look, you can,
Yeah, touch your water bottle.
look, we can talk about it. Talk about it in the reception.
Russian disinformation.
No, we didn't say that. Get your facts
You
straight.
said it was likely Russian disinformation.
No, we did not. We said
Yes,
it.
you did.
No.
In that memo,
Read
it says
the
that
letter.
and
I'm
you
ignoring
signed
it.
it.
Okay.
And I just like, I know I'm going to get uninvited.
Yeah.
It's going to be after hours.
No,
If nobody
no,
put me up to this,
you're
I'm
done.
on my own.
Come on, all right, we're going to go over here.
This is disinformation.
Let's go over here for a
Nobody won't
question.
be able to answer the question.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Over
Good
here.
evening. My name
Beautiful. What a beautiful scene. The dude is squirming around in his chair because he knows, right? It's in writing. It's in emails. We can see it. He lied to Congress multiple times and maybe arguably worse than what Comey did. But now look at him just squirming around. Who put you up to this? Nobody. He's just asking questions. Why can't you just answer the question? And then he went back to the Hunter Biden laptop. I didn't say it was actual disinformation. I said it had all the hallmarks of being disinformation. You're like, okay, John, way to be cute. But it's not that cute. You look pathetic. And he looks very nervous now. So everywhere he's going, he's getting asked important questions. And as a public servant who served our country for however many decades, why wouldn't he just answer those questions other than just deferring you to his fake memoir, which is filled with more lies? So he's nervous about it. We're happy to see it. We've also got some Comey updates and lots of strangeness happening in the Comey case, including these redactions. So just like Brennan, Comey is being charged with lying to Congress and obstruction of Congress, and Brennan is probably going to be hit with those very soon. Fingers crossed. We can see here, we've got some updates. So first of all, Lindsay Halligan out of the Eastern District of Virginia, she submitted a motion to seal some of the records in the Comey case. And we knew this was coming, but we don't want documents sealed. We want to read them all, every single one, without any redactions, so that we can know what these corrupt idiots did. Here they tell us, here's the government's motion to seal, very short, from Lindsay Halligan. In the Eastern District, in the James Comey case, the government moves this honorable court to seal portions of the document that we're about to read. The redacted portion and the exhibits derived from search warrants that remain under seal in the issuing district. Why are they still under seal? Additionally, the government contains personal information that is not appropriate for public dissemination. This request for sealing is consistent with what you want us to do. Signed by the Eastern District of Virginia here out of Alexandria. So here's the filing in the Comey case. They say, all right, here's our government reply. We have to talk about a filter protocol because there is classified documents. There might be attorney-client privilege documents. And so the government doesn't want to be reading through a bunch of evidence and then stumble upon some attorney-client privilege materials that maybe would jeopardize their prosecution. Okay, one sanction for violating that privilege might be that the case gets dismissed if they discover something big enough that is that they shouldn't have seen. So they say, we're going to have a filter team. And so all of the Comey evidence that's going to be pouring into the courts, we're going to have another set of eyes look at this just to separate out any problematic materials. So here's what Lindsay Halligan and the DOJ have submitted here with the redactions. They say, all right, the government has lawfully obtained evidence in our possession. We've done our warrants, gotten a bunch of materials, and Comey's purported attorney-client privilege has been asserted for a small portion of that evidence. So a little, Venn diagram, got this whole universe of evidence. Small portion of that is attorney-client privilege, according to Comey. A filter team is required to determine whether that information is actually appropriately classified as attorney-client privilege. Now, their response from Comey demands premature decisions and avoids a meaningful discussion of this protocol that we want to have employed. Instead of squarely addressing it, he focuses on unresponsive questions of suppressing underlying warrants and a presumed taint of the evidence, right? The evidence is already bad, so you can't use it. And we have questions about the extent of this investigation. What other warrants are out there that are still open or closed or still under seal? The court should implement a filter protocol. Here's why. On September 25th, glorious day, Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury in Virginia, making a false statement, count 1 to Congress, and obstruction, count 2. Now, the indictment is based on testimony that Comey gave to the Senate Judiciary Committee on September 30th, 2020. And look how close to the statute of limitations they were on this puppy. 5 days, okay? 5 years later, 5 days. That's why Lindsay Halligan needed to come in there, fire everybody, and start taking care of business, which she did. Saying that also referenced testimony all the way back from 2017. Now, in 2019 and 2020, a while ago, the government obtained a series of search warrants during ongoing investigations into violations of U.S. code, theft and conversion of stolen government property, what? And unlawful gathering or transmission of national defense information. So these are old search warrants in ways consistent with the current prosecution. The prior government investigation focused in part on the relationship and the communication between Comey and Daniel Richman. Daniel Richman is the law professor who Comey hired to liaison with the media and, in our opinion, leak to the media. Below is a truncated timeline of events associated with the relevant search warrants. Wow. So Richman got investigated all the way back then in 19 and 20. Okay, that's Trump 1. So they started to look into this. Comey was leaking and the whole thing, just got derailed. COVID hit and everything went to haywire. So below is a timeline of the relevant search warrants associated with the warrant. So timeline redacted. Okay, got it. They tell us, well, the timeline below, they're based on a sealed government exhibit. The exhibit is designated as protected material because it is a search warrant that at this time remains under seal. We have requested the search warrant be unsealed in the issuing district. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's old. What happened to the case? Daniel Richman, as far as we know, was never prosecuted for any of the leaks. James Comey obviously was never prosecuted. So what were those old search warrants for? They're just kind of hanging around. So here, bunch more stuff. They have a bunch of stuff that they found 5 years ago. As described above, a filter process was in place for each of those warrants, where Comey's prior counsel was able to assert any privilege claims. So his lawyers were already dealing with this from years ago. And defendant's prior counsel did that through a privilege log provided with the filter review following the final search warrant. So Comey has, sounds like been under investigation for quite some time and felt probably like he got away with it all. Just amazing. Now here they continue. Through a prior attorney, James Comey has asserted attorney-client privilege as to specific evidence. 5 text threads identified in the privilege log, where he's talking with his lawyer about something. The party asserting a privilege has to establish that privilege, and adjudication of this privilege requires a filter team. We need somebody else to look at it who's not the prosecutors to see whether or not this is actually protected. This is the specific issue before the court based on the government's motion. And as described in the initial motion, the government, the DOJ, we believe that the proposed filter protocol is consistent with the law and by the books. The remaining evidence lawfully seized under the prior warrants has already been filtered and provided to the government by the defendant's prior attorney, Richmond, who is a law professor. So maybe he was acting as counsel as well. So Comey's response does not address the underlying premise of a filter protocol. Instead, he first jumps to the underlying search warrants. Okay, Comey wants to get all of that stuff gone and presumptively declares that this is an unconstitutional search. They say that's wrong. The government is not asking to look at the raw returns from the prior search warrants. The government is simply asking for a judicially approved filter protocol as to a small and specific subset of this evidence, which we got before through a valid federal search warrant years ago. Now, we got this evidence, obviously, but we have proceeded with an abundance of caution in reviewing lawfully obtained evidence from 19 and 20. While reviewing that evidence that was previously filtered by Comey's attorney, an FBI agent noted that some of the communications appeared to involve an attorney and a client. And so at that time, the prophylactic decision, preventative, so we don't breach this privilege, was made to remove the FBI agent from the team and pause any review of the evidence from the 19 and 20 search warrants. So this has been going on. This was orally communicated to the investigative team and communicated through written instruction via email to the lead investigators. Okay, everybody don't touch it. And we went through a very similar process when Trump got his whole house raided. Bunch of attorney-client stuff in there, so we had to separate it out. The sequence of events, this one, is what Comey relies on to assume a taint. Yeah. The evidence has been tainted, and Comey knows about that. The presumption is wrong. No members of the investigative team have been tainted in any way. However, when undersigned counsel joined the prosecutorial team, a decision was made for the quarantined evidence to remain that way until the court came in and told us what to do. And so now Comey is questioning the government's ability to safeguard privileged material. But the reality is that the government has already proceeded with the utmost caution and respect for the privileged material itself. As soon as we saw a sign, we stopped touching everything and said, come in and help us, judge. A filter protocol is appropriate. They say that there's attorney-client privilege. There's a small subset of evidence that they want gone from a larger set that's already been filtered. Now, despite their assumptions, the government did not violate their Fourth Amendment rights, nor was this team tainted at all. A judicially approved filter protocol is necessary because Comey has to prove that he's got the privilege, not the other way around. Signed here by N. Tyler Lemons, who we've seen a lot from here now on this case, submitted into the Eastern District of Virginia. And so we'll keep our eye on that. I fully expect we're going to have a filter team and a protocol in place, and we'll battle over this evidence just like we did with Trump. But lots of redactions and some interesting details there that apparently some of the evidence came from much earlier search warrants that Comey was already involved in. I don't think he told us about those investigations, but there's evidence there. So we've got that. We also have other materials that are filed under seal. The exhibit here, of course, filed under seal. And you know how much we hate that. We'd like to see everything, but we don't have it. So in addition to Comey, a lot of this corruption inside the FBI and the DOJ and the deep state, DNI, ODNI, all of the agencies ended up culminating in another investigation of the president called Arctic Frost. That was the January 6th and the Mar-a-Lago investigation led by Timothy Thibault that ultimately turned into the Jack Smith case, the illegally appointed prosecutor who was never actually appointed at all, who stole a bunch of money, and used it against Americans in America. He, of course, inherited the Arctic Frost case, turned it into the special counsel's case, and then spied on a bunch of senators. And they are not happy about it. Marsha Blackburn is saying the judge who approved those subpoenas is Judge Jeb James Boasberg, the same judge who said, turn those airplanes around. The Supreme Court said, you can't do that. And he said, well, that's okay. I'm going to hold you in contempt. It's like, Now, Marsha Blackburn, Ted Cruz, and others are saying, we need to investigate this at a much deeper level. Here is Marsha explaining.
Judge Boasberg in front of us. He's the one who signed these subpoenas against me and the other 9 Republicans that were subpoenaed. Our phone records were subpoenaed. And you know, Mike, we don't know what else they got. Did they get banking records? Did they do opposition style research on us? And exactly what were they doing? We also need to call the CEOs of these wireless companies in front of us. Verizon rolled over and complied. AT&T fought back. AT&T did not release records. But you know, the fact that Judge Boasberg would have put a non-disclosure order on top of the subpoena and said, well, I fear that these senators may destroy evidence or tamper with evidence, or they may intimidate witnesses. You know, to insinuate such is, of course, something that is a violation. And it is our First and Fourth Amendment rights, and the separation of powers, and the speech and debate clause, and, of course, the Stored Communications Act that have been violated. And, of course, we know there were organizations that they went after the banking records of those organizations. So this is deep and wide. It is far deeper and wider than Watergate. It is far more intrusive and invasive. 197 subpoenas are what we know so far, and 430 individuals that they were going after, individuals and organizations. So we do need to get going on this. We need to do it sooner rather than later.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's keep that energy up over there in the Senate. We want hearings and everybody dragged in front to explain themselves, including Jack Smith. Jack Smith is now building a defense, I guess, according to the New York Times. They say the former special counsel has told people in his orbit that he wants to talk about this publicly. And he never got that opportunity to do it, which we doubt. We doubt he wants to talk at all. Trump's unrelenting fast track, they say at the Times, to investigate people, to humiliate them. They're such babies. Jack Smith is different. The special counsel who twice indicted Trump appears unintimidated by the president. We'll see. Quite the opposite. They say Jack Smith, who spent more than 2 years aggressively collecting evidence. Not really. I mean, he was aggressively collecting evidence, but he also inherited a bunch of it from the January 6th committee, who promised that they were going to give him materials on a rolling basis, and also went after all senators, congresspeople all over the country. After inheriting the case from the FBI, he wasn't a special counsel. He was just an appointed hack. He did very little independently other than go spy on the senators and exercise maximum leverage. Before he buckled, AT&T said, what's your lawful basis for this? And then he ran away like a coward, like a baby. Actually, it was the right thing to do because he was acting illegally, but he shouldn't have been acting that way in the first place. They say, okay, the president is now coming after him, and he has told people in his orbit that he welcomes the opportunity to speak in public. Now, whether he gets the chance to confront his accusers, some Republicans have expressed concerns. Trump called him deranged Jack Smith. He is a criminal, because that's true. But in 2 low-key but self-assured appearances over the past weeks, Mr. Smith has made it unmistakably clear he's not only going to defend himself. He said, the idea that politics played a role in who worked on that case or who got chosen is ludicrous. Okay, why was your little Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa, walking around trying to get people like Stanley Woodward to basically force their clients to lie and to flip? What was that about? Is that just good justice, good prosecutorial ethics? Smith said that he had tons of evidence that Trump had willingly retained the documents and tried to obstruct the investigation. He lost all of his cases. So this is just more of a puff piece by this weirdo. Who wrote this? Glenn Thrush. All right. So Glenn Thrush over at the New York Times. He's saying Jack Smith is going to have a counterattack. Good. We'll see. We'll see what he actually did. Hopefully he's very forthcoming and transparent and doesn't invoke the fifth like many other people in the Biden administration who just suddenly shut up once they realize they're in big trouble. Now here's Ted Cruz. He said Judge Boasberg signed off on secret subpoenas for the cell phone records of at least 9 Senate Republicans, all at the behest of Jack Smith, including me. He took off his judicial robe and became a partisan crusader. It's time to impeach Jeb Boasberg. Here's Ted Cruz.
When you have the Biden Department of Justice subpoenaing 20% of the Republicans in the Senate, it is an egregious abuse of process. It is a fishing expedition. And we need to have a full and thorough investigation and accountability for every executive branch official that signed off on weaponizing the government. And I believe that the House of Representatives should impeach Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg was the one who made findings that he had no basis for. And when he did that, he took off his judicial robe. He just became a partisan crusader. He joined with Jack Smith in the mission to try to stop Donald Trump from being reelected. Thankfully, the voters prevailed. Democracy prevailed. But I'll tell you what, if God forbid Kamala Harris had become president, we would never, ever, ever find out about this. They would have buried their abuse of power. And what's critical, this can never happen again.
Yeah, and think about what else they buried after they stole it in 2020. And all of this has been swept under the rug because they thought that as long as they could get the TV out the front door on Black Friday, they wouldn't have to pay for it. As long as they just got right out the front door, it's theirs. They're home scot-free. No consequences at all. But this is not Black Friday. This is America. And we don't appreciate criminals trying to interfere with our system. Now, the president was asked about this over on 60 Minutes. And here is what your favorite president had to say.
James Comey, John Bolton, Letitia James were all recently indicted. There's a pattern to these names. They're all public figures who have publicly denounced you. Is it political retribution?
Publicly denounced him? Do you mean violated the law in order to attack him, abusing their office, engaging in a conspiracy against the rights of President Trump, obstructing justice by creating fake charges like in Alvin Bragg's jurisdiction or in Letitia James's jurisdiction? How about you ask a question like that?
What, you know who got indicted? The man you're looking at. I got indicted.
Much better answer.
And I was innocent. And here I am because I was able to beat all of the nonsense that was thrown at me. And yet when you go after a dirty cop like Comey or a guy like Bolton, who I hear I don't know anything about it. I hear he took records all over the place. Who knows?
Yeah,
Letitia James is a terrible, dishonest person, in my opinion.
Did you instruct the Department of Justice to go after
Not
them?
in any way, shape, or form. No, you don't have to instruct them because they were so dirty, they were so crooked, they were so corrupt that the honest people we have, Pam Bondi's doing a very good job. Kash Patel's doing a very good job. The honest people that we have go after them automatically.
Because they broke the law, and they are the very people that lectured us day in and day out, every day on the news media. No one's above the law with their stupid little speeches. Might as well gotten it tattooed on their foreheads. But they lost. And as the saying goes, no one is above the law, and the people who broke the law need to be held accountable. That's exactly what's happening here. And they're freaked out about it. And boy, it is just enjoyable to watch Brennan scrolling around on his cell phone, just begging for that train to get here. He's like, oh gosh, can you go faster? Oh, don't hit the brakes. Just get on here so I can get the heck out of here. Well, John, no train out of DC is going to help you. You've been referred over for criminal prosecution, and hopefully Pam Bondi is working on it right now. All right, now let's turn our attention. We heard a little bit more about Letitia James, and here's another one. Letitia James loses. Remember, she sent in a demand to force Lindsay Halligan to create a little log that was sent over to her team and they could approve it or object to it and demand more answers about who she's talking to, where, why, and all the things. And now we've got a decision, an opinion, and an order saying, no, Tish, you can't make her do that. You're a defendant in a criminal fraud case for mortgage fraud. You don't get to dictate terms to the federal government. This one, of course, coming out of the Eastern District of Virginia. We're back in Lindsay Halligan territory, United States of America versus Letitia James. And the judge came down in a short order. And the judge, as we know, is Jamar K. Walker out of North Efford, Virginia. And he's going to split some of this, but Tish's big request is now denied. Let's get to it. It says defendant Letitia James, she filed a motion asking the court to order the government to follow federal and local rules and abide by professional guidelines. It's like, okay, you don't need to order them to follow the rules when they're already following the rules. Now, the motion, in addition to that, right? So like, that's not, it's like you want us to follow the rules. We're already going to follow the rules. So you don't need to ask the court to order you to do that. Are we violating the rules? Then make that allegation, but don't ask for an order saying, can they follow the rules? Which is all that is. Now, the motion also requests, this is where Tish got a little bit over her skis on this, says they want the court to require Lindsay Halligan, the prosecutor, to keep a log of any communications between any government attorney or agent in this case and any member of the media. Because remember, Lindsay Halligan was texting Anna Bauer, supposedly off the record, even though it wasn't. And in any member of the media, and that the court impose a litigation hold preventing deletion or destruction of any records of communications having to do with this investigation or the prosecution of this matter. Okay, saying we want you, Lindsay, to be forced to comply with these record-keeping requirements. Now, the government does not oppose the defendant's proposal that the court issue a reminder to comply with the rules and interaction with the media. They say, of course, sure, remind us. We're already following the rules. Lindsay Halligan has always followed the rules, didn't do anything wrong. And if you remind us to follow the rules, you can remind Tish to do the same, because she's out there every day screaming about baseless attacks and how the president is coming after her. Even though she ran for office, literally with facial spasms and twitches, saying, I'm going to get this illegitimate president. It's on video. It's all over the place. It's crazy. It's TDS in the brain. It's what it does to your neural synapses. However, the government contends that any such order should extend to the defendant, Letitia, as well. The government also disputes whether a communication log or litigation hold is necessary. And so, Tish's motion will be granted in part and denied in part as to the big one. Now, the court will direct all counsel, okay, to comply with the rules relevant to their circumstance, like, okay, as described below. And a litigation hold is appropriate in case there is discoverable information that is lost, which of course they're going to save all that too. If it's discoverable, they'll keep it. That is lost due to technological features designed to secure private communication. So like the disappearing messages, for example. However, the defendant, Letitia, does not demonstrate that it is necessary for the court to order the government to track their communications in any particular form. And we've read the back and forth on this. And so she was fighting to basically, monitor, like a hall monitor, all of the government's comms. They said, we're not going to do that, Tish. You lose. The motion criticizes alleged communications between Lindsay Halligan and Anna Bauer on the Signal app. Those alleged communications reference grand jury proceedings, and they were reported to the media. In its response, the government, from Halligan's office, highlights statements that Letitia herself made to the media about her beliefs about the government's motivations and her contention that the charges are baseless, right? So in other words, Tish is out there, baseless, 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 baseless. Lindsay Halligan responds to a journalist and says, they're not actually baseless. I'm defending my client, the people of America, the United States government. And so if Tish can run her mouth, Lindsay can run hers. And if you want to scold the government for doing that, then scold her too, Judge. Now, here's their analysis from the court. The motion does not seek a sanction against the government, which was my earlier point. Did you say they broke the rules? Okay, then ask for a penalty. They didn't. Nor does a ruling on any of the requests require a finding that there is any wrongdoing. Saying, yeah, the government argues that its attorney's statements were proper because they were made to protect her clients from undue prejudice. If Tish can run her mouth, then the government can respond. So while the court notes that communications in the motion that are described are unusual, it declines to opine on whether they were improper in any sense, either legal or ethical. So we're not going to condemn Lindsay Halligan like much of the people on the left have already done. However, recognizing that the rules and the principles related to lawyers' engagement with the media are especially important in cases that attract public attention. And so the court orders the government to comply with the rules, federal rules of criminal procedure, which prohibits an attorney for the government from disclosing grand jury materials, which she didn't do. The government's attorneys are also reminded of their obligations, which addresses the release of information in the news media, and counsel for the government may also have professional duties that pose a risk of it's like just a reminder, just follow the rules. Okay, did we break any rules? No, I'm not saying you did. I'm not opining on whether there's any legal problems or any ethical problems at all. But I'm just reminding you about the rules. Okay, well, why are you reminding me for something I didn't do? Don't you hate that? It's like, well, just don't forget to do this thing. I wasn't going to. Well, just don't forget. Well, why'd you even bring it up? I was never going to. So just don't talk to me ever again. This court also orders all counsel, that's how I feel, to comply with local rule, all counsel, okay, so even your attorneys, Letitia, which prohibits any lawyer, law firm, or law enforcement personnel associated with the prosecution or defense from making authorizing certain extrajudicial statements, including any opinions about the accused's guilt or innocence, and any lawyer who is participating in the litigation may also have an ethical duty to refrain from making extrajudicial statements that pose a risk to prejudicing the proceeding. And you know who a lawyer is? Yeah, Letitia is. Is she participating in the case? Yeah. So, hey, Letitia, stop yapping. Okay, not allowed to do it. You're the AG of New York, so just zip it and just go back to your business of supporting Mamdani. The defendant, Letitia, she presents evidence that the government counsel communicated with a member of the media on Signal. That was Lindsay Halligan. We read the text. The court is not asked to decide now whether any communication is or will become discoverable. But in the event that some of these communications do take place and that they are discoverable, you should hang on to it. And so accordingly, we order a hold, do not delete or destroy any evidence that is discoverable, which they wouldn't do anyways, pending further order of the court. However, the court is also not persuaded that preservation of evidence related to communications requires that be maintained in any form. So we're not going to give you a log. The defendant, Letitia, does not demonstrate that a communication log is necessary. So the court will not order the government to maintain one, which was a dumb request in the beginning. The court trusts that counsel on both sides will comply with this order without any further hand-holding. Letitia, this is obviously the right, outcome, but she was begging the judge to give her an opportunity to shackle the prosecution. Now, at this stage, the court does not find that a restriction on Letitia's speech is necessary at this time. The court certainly has the power to control the speech of the defendants. Yeah, just like they did in Trump's cases. They gagged him out the wazoo. But so far, the government has not demonstrated that her speech has risen to the level that it must be dampened in spite of her First Amendment rights in order to preserve a just legal process. Well, how come they gagged Trump from talking about the judge's daughter? Recognizing that a criminal defendant is presumed innocent and all the things. Yeah. Therefore, to the extent the government asked the court to restrict Letitia's big mouth, that request will be denied so she can keep flapping her gums. Now, conclusion, the defendant's motion is granted in part, no log, but no gag on Tish. Now, again, she also has other ethical duties, right, as a lawyer to not undermine the sanctity of the courts. The government shall comply with the rules. You're reminded to follow the rules. Okay, we will. All counsel shall comply with the rules. Got it. The government shall preserve any records of communications having to do with the investigation. Okay. But Letitia's request that they keep a communication log is denied. And to the extent the government asked the court to limit her own speech, that request is also denied. Which I don't think they're really asking for that. They're just saying if she's running her mouth, then we can talk to the media too. If she's talking to the media, we can do the same. So Tish, I would say, loses that one. She can keep speaking, but the procedural shackles that she wanted to impose, obviously those have been denied. And let's take a look at Jamar Walker and see who appointed him and when. Joe Biden, 2023. Yes, but at least he was born in America. Yeah, and I think I remember this fella. Yeah, that's right. The first openly LGBTQ plus IA expialidocious, first openly gay Article 3 judge to serve in Virginia. Historic! Which is, of course, why Joe Biden appointed anybody, just so he could say that about anybody. So that's Jamar Walker and issuing his rulings in the Letitia case. All right, so that's that. Letitia, meanwhile, is out there with Mom Donnie, and this is just about as pathetic as you can get. You can see even Zoran posted this in New York. Here's Tish.
Zoran! 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 Zoran!
Okay, that's New York's Attorney General. So they're out there. There's like 15 people out there. What are you doing, Tish? Nobody's even listening to her. All right, sounds like pathetic. But we also saw this woman, Lisa Cook, on the Federal Reserve, also allegedly a fraudster, according to many. Pulte said that she is now publicly discussing her getting possibly indicted. She's represented by Abby Lowell, who is the same lawyer who is Hunter Biden's former lawyer, the same guy who represented Goldbar Menendez, who's going to prison, and some others. Now representing Lisa Cook and John Bolton and Letitia James. Here's Lisa Cook out there talking about what's going on with her case.
Many of you know I am involved in an ongoing legal case.
Yeah, we know.
There are a number of people in this room and in this building who have reached out and been supportive in many ways. I am beyond grateful for this support. And multiple briefs filed by my very skilled legal team, questions related to this case and its potential impact on the Federal Reserve have been addressed at length. Because the case is ongoing, it would be inappropriate for me to comment further today. I can say that it is the honor of my life to serve on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. I will continue to carry out my sworn duties on behalf of the American people. Many of you.
No. We don't need fraudsters who commit mortgage fraud to govern our fiscal and monetary policy. Okay, we're good on that. Thank you, though. So she's going to dig her heels in. Letitia is going to dig her heels in. John Bolton's going to dig his heels in. And we're going to keep our eye on all of these cases. Thank you, my friends, for subscribing and joining as we do. We've got new lawyers coming in on the Letitia case for the government. Henry Charles Whitaker. And there will be more on these mortgage fraudsters soon. We'll be here to cover it. All right, now we got one final segment on the day, and let's get right to this one from Pam Bondi. ISIS-linked terror plot now busted. We got Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and the FBI making this announcement. Starting with Pam, she says, our newly unsealed complaint, which is a big one. We've got it queued up over here. You can see it's 73 pages, and it's got photos and explains all the connections to ISIS operating in a very troubled area in the Eastern District of Michigan, apparently going to launch an attack right around the Halloween. And so here the FBI said multiple suspects have now been charged for having firearms in a conspiracy to provide material support to ISIS, saying we now have an unsealed criminal complaint. You can see the results of all of our months of work, which we will look at. We'll continue to follow the facts and deliver justice for the American people. That's from Kash Patel. Pam Bondi said, our newly unsealed complaint reveals a major ISIS-linked terror plot. Multiple subjects arrested in Michigan. According to the complaint, multiple AR-15 rifles, tactical gear, a detailed plan to carry out an attack. Thanks to the extraordinary diligence of Jerome Gorgon Jr., shout out to Jerome, the FBI and the state local law enforcement officers, this plot was stopped before innocent lives were lost. Our American heroes prevented another terror attack. And here is the charging document. Criminal complaint filed in the United States District Court out of the Eastern District of Michigan against Mohamed Ali and Majed Mahmoud. These two individuals charged 18 U.S. Code, Section 924, receiving and transferring and attempting or conspiring to transfer firearms and ammunition, knowing and having reasonable cause to believe that these would be used to commit the federal crime of terrorism. Nicholas Check, special agent at the FBI. He fills out this affidavit in support of a criminal complaint, writing the following. Person one, a juvenile, who we won't know, and Mohamed Ali, U.S. citizens. And where are they? Dearborn, Michigan. Oh, yeah. As described further below, person one and Ali were referenced in third-party conversations in encrypted communications in which other individuals stated that, quote, brothers, this young kid and Ali are planning to conduct a terrorist attack in the U.S. on behalf of ISIS. Additional steps with the FBI said, yep, this other dude, Mahmoud, so we've got Mahmoud and Ali, is a co-conspirator. More background. August, September this year, at around the same time as third-party discussions about an attack, Ali purchased a gun, AR-15 style rifle, multiple accessories, forced reset trigger that allows the increased rate of fire. Mahmoud also got another AR, September 25, multiple accessories, and 1,600 rounds of ammunition that could be used. Then September and October this year, person one, the child, Ali Mahmoud, co-conspirator 4 and 5, they practiced shooting firearms at gun ranges. Based on my experience, says this FBI agent, I believe this was to develop their firearm skills. On September 25th, Ali and 4, they practiced shooting at a gun range, and Ali and 4 each bought and brought AR-15 style rifles to the range. Later, Ali and Mahmoud separately practiced shooting together on October 8th. Then October 16th, different gun range the 17th, then the 24th, and co-conspirator 5, they're hitting the range a lot. In addition to practicing shooting, they have met on other occasions, recently at parks in or around Dearborn at night. For what? On October 10th, not long ago, Ali, the child, Mahmoud, met in the park, or the juvenile, and retrieved an object from the trunk. Then they brought it to a wooden area. Based on the information, they then traveled to scout attack targets in Ferndale, Michigan. Then all of these people regularly communicated with each other about the attack plans. They met in person. They used online encrypted communications. They shared extremist and ISIS-related materials to encourage more attacks. They also appeared to set it for Halloween. They sought guidance from the father of a local Islamic extremist ideologue on this question. Then finally, just days ago, October 31st, pursuant to federal search warrants, agents executed them, got 3 AR rifles, 2 shotguns, 4 handguns, 1,600 rounds of ammo, optical sights, 2 GoPro cameras, a flash suppressor, tactical vests, other related firearms parts and accessories, 2 chest rigs, 2 black tactical backpacks, 24 empty magazines with 3 sized AR-15 style rifles. That's a lot of gear. He tells us, I work with the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and I think all these people committed federal crimes, saying it's a crime to buy weaponry in furtherance of a terrorist attack, and this is based on my personal knowledge. He says more. ISIS is a designated terror organization. Okay, October 15th, 2004, they got designated accordingly. There was a mosque in July 4th, 2014. They lost a lot of their territory, but they're still around. In 24, the FBI opened an investigation into co-conspirator 1. A review of his cell phone data that was obtained via search warrant showed that his cell phone was in Dearborn, Michigan, confirmed by physical surveillance as well. Like, we got him. Then July 2nd, FBI physical surveillance confirmed that co-conspirator 1 left Dearborn, Michigan, and returned to his U.S. residence, because like Dearborn's like a foreign country now. Co-conspirator 1 stayed in the U.S. for 2 days and then went overseas. On August 20th, came back to the U.S., was interviewed, and his phone was reviewed by Border Patrol. The contents of his phone revealed Google searches related to ISIS and the Islamic State, and pictures of him in military-style clothing and weapons. On July 27th, while he was overseas, Conspirator 1, he engaged in a group call via an encrypted communication application with 5 other people. Among the participants, guess who was in that call? FBI, confidential human source. The CHS recorded the call, captured the audio and the video. I've reviewed this recording, and it appears that some of these other people, the juvenile, Ali, and Mahmoud, are not in that call. During the group call, They discussed traveling overseas to join co-conspirator 1 and then traveling to Syria to join ISIS. At one point in the conversation, one participant, co-conspirator 2, stated that he tried to convince Athari and Bukhari to join their travel. But Athari and Bukhari said that they were going to stay and do the same thing as France. Based on this investigation, I know person 1 is Ali and Bukhari is Ali. I believe that the reference to doing the same thing as France is just like what we saw in 15, an attack in Paris, France. Co-conspirator 1 told the group, yeah, we're not coming back, bro. We are going to die there in Syria, inshallah, unless the Emir sends you to Paris for a 2015, ... Co-conspirator 1 then asked if the Juvenile and Ali were actually going to do that, a terror attack. Co-conspirator 2 said they would, as soon as we get a commander. If they don't, then they're going to wait. I assess that the term commander is a reference to an ISIS official granting permission to facilitate the attack. Now, conspirator 1 responded that if they, the Juvenile and Ali, are going to conduct a terrorist attack, they have to wait until after we leave. Because he, 1, was at their house, and they're going to know who I am. I'm cooked, he said. He said that I also know these other people. Its attack is probably going to be at like a club, like a disco. Now, this year, September 22nd, another group call took place on an encrypted app. Present on this call were other people. Co-conspirator 1, the CHS, FBI undercover employee, and an individual the FBI believes is located overseas. The call was recorded. So like 4 people, 2 of them are feds. The call was recorded by the CHS and included discussion amongst these individuals, the majority of which was in English. I listened to the call. These 3 people, Juvenile, Ali, Mahmoud, not a part of it. During the call, co-conspirator 1 was asked if another member of the group was going to travel with them to Turkey. He replied that the other member planned to travel, but has to deal with something first, saying it's just getting a bit risky for him because I don't want to say anything on this call. There's going to be brothers doing something else while we go, like a nice surprise, he says. That's all I'm going to say. So once that happens, the moment that happens, and if I'm still here, then things are going to basically, yeah. So like a lot of stuff is going to be happening, he says on the call. Based on my review, as well as this other stuff, I believe brothers doing something else is these other people, Ali, Mahmoud, and others. October 3rd, just last month, a third group call took place. Encrypted comms, we got conspirators 1, 2, and 3, CHS, and the undercover. CHS recorded the call, which included a discussion, most of it in English. During the call, they again discussed their travel plans to Turkey. Someone said, we could just attend the shooting range once, twice, 3 times, practice with the toys a few times. It's all subject to the decisions and the commander of the Emir. He said, I'm even thinking of pulling this person 1, the Juvenile, but probably not here, probably over there. But now this person is doing his magic, not magic. Dude, the thing with the Juvenile is it would have been bad if I didn't know. Glory be to Allah. Whatever, whenever we do our first thing, then he will do his, you know. We're in a great time. Hey, he's doing his thingy. They're doing their own thingy, right? They're doing their own thingy. Terrorists say thingy to each other. Okay. We're going to give them the tazkiyah. Based on this conversation, he says, listening to like children talking. He says, I think that they were going to go join ISIS. Then we have another call. And finally, based on these statements, he says they're going to do their own thingy. I think what this is a terrorist attack. It is an interesting phrase. Now, based on my training experience, I know that under federal law, you got to be 18 to purchase a firearm. All these people were talking about doing the same thing as France. According to records from the police department, all 4 were approved to get licenses to purchase guns. According to law enforcement, they're available for use but have not been returned. Federal subpoenas show that they had debit card transactions. They bought some materials, scope list online, set $1,100 for that. Beretta A300 Ultima, competition 12 gauge. They got that for $900. Data from an email account shows screenshots in his iCloud. 510 financial transaction. Another website, EO Tech Inc. operator-grade holographic weapon sights, another picture on the iCloud of another rifle. Man, they got some good gear. Where's all this money coming from? Federal subpoena to JP Morgan Chase, also another $1,000 purchase over here. Look at that one. We've got more. They were looking at tactical style clothing. More subpoenas from the banks come back. Primary Arms, more retailers. They confirmed September 15th, collapsible mil-spec carbine stock for AR-15, FDE, all the things, which is a butt pad and more. There you go. Yeah, butt pad for improved shoulder purchase, contoured butt pad. Yeah. A review of the others, more materials, FRTs, Sig Sauers coming in. We've got another 16-incher over there, more licenses, subpoenas being returned, ammo out the wazoo. He says, this is a lot. Based on my training and experience, this is a lot. Subpoenas also provided by Amazon show they bought a bunch of other things. Flashlight while shooting at night increases accuracy. And, these are materials to allow it to function with more lethality. Close quarters, longer range scenarios, all tactical stuff. He's explaining it. While reviewing data associated with a phone tap and trace, it was discovered that he called Downriver Guns. A receipt and video surveillance voluntarily provided by the gun store. They're like, sure, here's everything you need. Provided the following. Pictured below is Ali, dressed in a gray colored shirt, and co-conspirator 4 dressed in a black collared shirt, while at Downriver Guns on September 25th. This is Ali, allegedly an ISIS sympathizer. Looking at some firearms and standing in the gun range. Downriver Guns provided another receipt. They bought more. They had lane rentals. More photos of them inside. On October 16th, the FBI was notified that Ali Mahmoud and co-conspirators visited Downriver Guns again. They bought more materials. They rented time for the range. And they purchased 1,600 rounds of 5.56. Now, I know based on my training, says this FBI agent, that individuals plotting terror attacks may practice these things. For example, a video obtained by ABC News showed that the perpetrators of the 2015 San Bernardino ISIS attack were practicing with assault rifles at a local firing range and then launched their attack. Records show that with person one's phone number, that he also was at Top Gun shooting. Then FBI physical surveillance observed person one and 3 others go to this place, and we've got more ammo. We've got buy more ammo. 2 FBI agents who did not identify themselves to the juvenile and others were in unmarked clothing. They placed themselves near person one at the shooting range, following these dudes everywhere. These agents observed person one shoot the Glock and more. Then back to the gun range, an employee of the location provided copies of receipts. Video surveillance footage inside the store showed what they were doing. Here's more. Standing there, they're all there, going for a day at the range. A review of the in-store surveillance footage shows that they fired a bunch of materials. This was confirmed by 2 FBI agents who were at the range with them. FBI agents right next door. Law enforcement got federal search warrants for phone calls. An analysis of the timing and Ali's phone says that they were traveling to each other's residence from this time to this time. They were all hanging out. Then at 10 p.m., they advanced, traveled to Dearborn, then traveled back to the residence. So they're tracking all, they're all hanging out together, moving around. Based on another agent's review of the poll camera, these trips are outside this person's normal pattern of travel. So they know where they're going and things have changed. Based on the information above, I believe that they drove and returned on this evening numerous bars and restaurants, 3 bars and clubs, scoping stuff out. All 3 of these clubs are located in this area, and all of them, many clubs and bars in this area, are LGBTQ plus AI expialidocious. Given that person one and all others are under 21 years old, it's unlikely that they could even go to these clubs. They're all under 21? Wow. As referenced above, co-conspirator 1 stated, knowing that the attack is probably going to be at a club, we think that they were out there scouting. scouting the locations. On October 10th at 8 p.m. this year, FBI and physical surveillance saw them go to Hemlock Park. And at one point, one of the individuals took something out of the trunk, then headed back to the wooded area. FBI physical surveillance did not determine what they did, but whatever they got, it was returned back to one of their residences. On October 15th, FBI surveillance also followed a vehicle. Again, somebody opened the trunk of the vehicle, closed the trunk, saw this person leave the residence, go enter the vehicle, following everybody everywhere. I know based on my training that people often meet in person to avoid audio surveillance and sell guns. In addition to meeting this, I believe person one and all these people also communicate via WhatsApp. And this is where they encrypt their terrorist communications. The dates of these communications begin following Ali's purchase of weapons. WhatsApp reveals multiple communications back and forth. They discussed an attack. They say, we've got a new plan for real. October 17th, Ali, he says, hey, we've got a new plan for real. For real. We're going to talk with Majid, and we, unintelligible, was there a new plan or just like, and Ali said, aha, some of the same, some of the old. Then they talked about their plan. Person one, the juvenile, says, is it anything changing with the ... No, says Ali, God willing. We will still talk. No, I need to know now, the juvenile. Is there anything changing with the... No change. So just the... Ali says, we're going to do it. We're going to do it the big 2035. Laughs. Juvenile, are you serious? No, don't worry. So it's the same everything, just different, like, same thing. We'll talk, God willing. Me and UI, we talked about it. It's trust. Look, after today, you guys are going to the range 100%, right? Aha, God willing. When you go, God willing, you going will also be another factor to prove like the change. It will all make sense later, but you just try to shoot. Just learn how to shoot. It's not as easy as you think. Then juvenile, person one, with three other individuals goes down to the gun place. They shoot for the afternoon. In a conversation the next day on the 18th, Ali told person one that he had a dream involving an interaction between Ali and the father after visiting a gun range, and said that we're geeking out over guns. Person one, the juvenile, said to Ali, imagine if you extend, by Allah, it will only make things worse. Then they like to hold a shura council to make the decision. He says, I think they're talking about an attack that they would carry out around Halloween because they're talking about pumpkins now. Later in the conversation, person one told Ali that he will speak to the other co-conspirators. If anybody told anybody about the date, the thing, person one asked Ali, says, you mean brothers online? And Ali responded at first. He says, yeah. Then person one, juvenile, no, I never told anyone regarding that day. By Allah, that day. Any day specifically, I never told anyone. The only person who knows something is co-conspirator one, and you know what he knows, he doesn't know nothing. Then he stated that he told co-conspirator one that he would do something in a year, or God knows when, but that person one does not want to wait that long. After further discussion, Ali told person one, the younger person, that there are other things they can add, but I don't like to wait. We already agreed on this day. Keep it on this day. Based on the fact that person one used co-conspirators one and the reference, it's all consistent. I believe in this exchange, they're acknowledging that an attack is coming, but they did not know the specific date. So before the conversation described above, person one told Ali that he was fearful, the younger person. Ali said, the way I see it is that this is the closest thing I am deciding, like that I am going to paradise, God willing. If I die any other way than knowing you, 10 times more scared that you're going to hell, you understand? He said, yeah, that is true, God willing. He's like, I don't want to die. He's like, well, you want to go to hell? In a separate exchange on October 15th, person one, the juvenile, told Ali that he would cease taking certain medication because he wanted to avoid stomach problems. He said that he is good because he has 7 more days before the medication will leave his system, then another 8 days after that. Now, he thinks it's Halloween, says this agent. In multiple other communications, they talk about pumpkins, and they sang in a mocking tone. Somebody said this, I got to do the pumpkin for real. If I don't do the pumpkin, then I'm going to slit my wrist. So we think it's Halloween. In another conversation on October 19th, person one insisted that their plan should remain as is. The thing is, your day is too close, too close to a red line. Ali said, what do you mean, too close to a red line? He's like, it's like too close to some. No point in extending it. It's not that deep. Ali said, it is because you only get one chance at this, Juvenile. Yeah, I only get one chance. It's just this, and I want to do it in the safest way possible. Yeah. In the best way possible, God willing. Later during the same conversation, Juvenile again stressed his view that they should not delay, stating, bro, I just don't see the benefit in delaying it. I'm not going to lie. It's not worth delaying it. That's what I'm trying to say. I think the reward is still there, still need, Ali says. Well, I'm thinking that it's going to be 5 tough guys and going to 5 tough guys that just go into it. Around the same time, co-conspirator 4 heard yelling in the background. I swear to God, no, I swear. Shortly thereafter, person 1 said, I should have never even on this Halloween thing, even been in the first place by God. You should have never done that. We would never have been in this. The day you brought it up and shut it down in the car was the best thing that I did. I am our word for bringing it back up. You are the idiot. You are the idiot that brought it back up and made me like to think about it. Then person 1 says, bro, Muhammad Ali, by God, it's not worth it. I'm telling you, you guys just worry too much. You're thinking of UI. You have a group and an operation in that, and that it's going to be huge. It's going to be fine. It's going to go, and then that's it. So he thinks all of this was their planned attack. October 19th, again, they're referencing pumpkins, and they're now seeking martyrdom. Then October 24th, Halloween's around the corner. Juvenile asks Ali, are you going to do pumpkin? He said, I would love to. You know, by God, genuinely, deep in my heart, by God, I would love to. He says, well, think about it. There won't be a day left for a big attack, operation of the Muslim nation, Ummah. And if someone else offers to make another day and claim every day of the year, when they claim every day of the year, that brother did it on that day, we got to do it another day. Ali says, imagine weddings back to back. Wow, how beautiful. Back to back, whatever, cakes. Beautiful, woohoo, anniversary for real. He says, I guess if enough of us carry out the attacks, they're going to celebrate on like wedding anniversaries. Later in the same exchange, person 1 told Ali, so yeah, I talked to my brothers. We are going to do pumpkin. Person 1 says, I talked to co-conspirator 4 and 5. They said it is getting bad. So we got to do pumpkin. Yeah. Based on the Arabic word, person 1 used for brothers in the context, I believe he's referring to ISIS specifically. Ali told person 1 that he was cleaning his rifle. He said, oh, you mean my rifle? They practiced shooting. And finally, October 28th and 29th, person 1 and Ali discussed their efforts to seek guidance from somebody who's known for radical Islamic views. As described below, person 1 has posted content from this extremist ideologue that supports ISIS. Then, October 29th, person calls the father of the Islamic ideologue and told him that he had an intention to do a good deed and I was indecisive. I don't know what day to do it. Maybe in a couple months or earlier, a month. After both the father and the person shared prayers, the juvenile said, I decided to go at the later date. I had a dream a week prior about doing the exact deed. And then the Islamic ideologue says, no, go do the good deed now. Then person 1 told Ali that he called the father of the ideologue. He says, if there is something good to do it right away. He referenced his dream and Ali responded. He said, if you have seen it, then you do it. That one was clear, and I was so happy about it. He said, I wanted to ask him, or you call him and ask him. Ask about the pumpkin? What are you saying? No, I just asked him, how do you know if the dream is answered? I told him, I got a dream that pretty much like what you told me. I had a dream of doing a good deed, and it was earlier than when I decided and wait for his answer. After the juvenile explained his call, Ali said, let me call Mahmoud. Then Ali told the juvenile that if the Islamic ideologue's father knew about the actual plan, he would not have said what he did. Okay. If he knew that you were going to go blow something up, like that's not a good deed. So just so you know, based on my training and experience, FBI says in information known to me from this investigation, the ideologue who spoke to the kid said, I believe that person one told Ali he consulted with this person and that they would continue to coordinate. October 22nd, FBI got search warrants back from an iCloud account. He downloaded a U-Haul application. Then U-Haul provided records. Right about the same time they started purchasing guns, they were purchasing storage space. Access logs also show that they had a location at a U-Haul facility. Video footage shows people who look like these dudes accessing the storage facility, utilizing cell phone towers. They're following their cell phones. The logs reveal that the storage facility was accessed by these dudes, and we reviewed their social media. In September, person one admitted in an interview to law enforcement to belonging to 3 chat groups where they talked about ISIS and extremism, frequently posting pro-ISIS videos, membership in a second group called Islamic State of America. They're just hanging out in these terrorist groups. I'm sure they're packed with feds. Inshallah, hopefully, and says, we will be attacking the Chicago Pride Parade. More LGBTQ plus friendly organizations. They were also part of the Islamic State Lasting chat group. 20 members, 50 inactive members. And on September 11th this year, a review of this person's account, he was posting messages, talking about forgive me, goodbye messages, blowing stuff up. Looked at his Instagram, and they found posts about Osama bin Laden. We got a search warrant for his Instagram, and a review of the chat group said that he got pictures of these books called The Islamic State, another book, and looking at maps of territory that ISIS held. Here's some more photos. Map of Syria, infographics that they're being shared. Timetable of the Islamic State, morning prayers. They're in Telegram channels. Over the course of the investigation, we also found that he was communicating with troubled persons who are actually in and emigrating from ISIS-held territory. Lots of encrypted communications. Then they see some evidence. Days ago, October 29th, search warrants were approved. In Ali's residence that they raided, they got a bunch of things. AR-15 rifles, scopes, red dots, and more. Magazines, 9mm, GoPros, tactical flashlights, UPS packages, all sorts of stuff. In the bedroom, more weapons, 1,600 rounds, 5 slugs, shotgun slugs, tactical chests, Smith & Wessons, lots of stuff. Yeah, all that captured. It's like some magazines there, some chest rigs there. Based on the information, I believe that these people were buying and transferring ammunition to plot a terrorist attack signed by Nicholas Check over from the FBI. So good news that they got those dudes. And seems like it's a little bit deeper than just some bros who want to go to the shooting range and just pop off. Now, we saw that the Michigan lawyer who is representing them says it's all nonsense, saying it never existed. A Michigan defense lawyer says that they didn't do it. Lawyer Amir Mocklead, who represents a man in Dearborn, said, I don't have any details. They're 16 to 20. Authorities made the arrests. Then we got the documents, but not many details from that defense attorney. So, all right. So that is all happening. Here is what Fox News reported when they got eyes on this one.
Breaking tonight, a terror plot to stage a violent attack over the Halloween weekend in Michigan. And the plan has an apparent ISIS connection. FBI Director Kash Patel says several people have been arrested. Correspondent David Spunt starts us off tonight. Good evening, David.
Shannon, good evening. Scary story. Several people are in custody right now in Michigan being charged on this Halloween night, arrested after the FBI thwarted an alleged terrorist attack with an apparent connection to ISIS. The FBI director announcing the arrest early this morning on social media. Now, here's what we know. Suspects were picked up in both Dearborn and Inkster, Michigan. It's unclear who was arrested or how many. Patel in a statement saying the FBI is constantly on watch to keep Americans safe, adding, through swift action and close coordination with our local partners, a potential act of terror was stopped before it could unfold. The vigilance of this FBI prevented what could have been a tragic attack, and thanks to their dedication, Michigan will have a safe and happy Halloween. Now, our affiliate, Shannon, spotted the FBI in a neighborhood in Dearborn outside Detroit. Dearborn police confirm the Bureau was there conducting activity this morning. The local police department adds that there is currently no threat to public safety. The suspects are expected to appear in court as soon as Monday. And of course, Shannon will follow all the latest developments.
All right. So nice work to the feds for interfering with a terror plot, and charges have now made their way through. So we'll keep our eye on this one. We'll see what happens next, my friends. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, my beautiful friends, what an amazing Monday it is indeed. If you're just joining us, quick recap on what we talked about. We had some fun at the start of the show with John Brennan, who is having a tough time out there. So mad that he's violently assaulting this nice man right in the chest like that. Assault, 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 assault. Man, he's lucky there wasn't a little self-defense going on here. You know what I'm saying? But that's Brennan. Look how mad he is. He's so mad that he even was fiddling around, squirming around in his seat like a criminal as he refused to answer even more questions. So we talked about that, refreshed our recollection on the criminal referral over to Pam Bondi and why it's so important, and also looked at the very damning email that was sent over by Clapper saying, this is a team sport. We all have to get on board with making up fictional intelligence products. So we got the latest on that. Then we had updates on some other deep state hacks, including James Comey. We have a large portion of the evidence that is under seal and redacted for the foreseeable future. But we got some updates on what's happening there. Of course, more materials under seal. Jack Smith apparently is going to fight back or whatever. A dumb article from this person over at the New York Times. But we heard that. We heard Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, and of course, the president himself explain his take on these deep state criminals. Then we turned our attention over to the Letitia James case. She was demanding that Lindsay Halligan fill out a little communications log for her and send her an email at the close of business every day. And the court said no. Reminded everybody to just behave appropriately and don't run your mouth to the media, essentially. So we went through that. Then we went through a 73-pager criminal complaint brought by the FBI and special agents against two individuals for colluding to assist ISIS in a troubling case. So I'm sure there's a lot more of that over there in Dearborn. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. And let's see what you say about all of this and more. Thank you for joining us on our Daylight Savings Adjusted show. Very nice to have you here. And I really appreciate all your donos. I think we got some new membos who joined us. If you're a membo, stick around. We'll have our after party and we'll debrief and see what you have to say about all of this. What a beautiful day it is. We got Donut and John clipping for us. Thank you both for being here. Trino Galaxy says Brennan is a traitor and should pay the penalty for being a traitor after he is prosecuted according to law and penalized appropriately, sentenced by a judge. I think that's a good idea, Trino Galaxy. Nobody's above the law. And people who are committing treason, if they have committed treason and we afford them the presumption of innocence and all the things, they can defend themselves in a court of law. Thank you, Trino Galaxy. Hey, Buc-ee's is Rome. Some eye-popping stats from Grok on New York City and its election laws and the rate of identity theft. Oh, yeah. Well, we covered the lawsuit by Marley. Remember Marley and Real People's Voice for something? We covered it last week. Yeah, it's a disaster. None of the numbers match up. Everything is irreconcilable. You've got one list. It doesn't match this list. It's a disaster. That's why Letitia's getting sued. And that's why Letitia tried to destroy her with criminal investigations and to wreck her organization. Bucky's is Rome. Plan A, 9/11, the destruction of the Twin Towers, thousands dead. Plan B, Mom Donnie, 2026. I don't really know what this is trying to say, but Mom Donnie's a commie. Yeah. So here's one from Bucky's is Rome. Says, how the new mayor of New York City is going to be at his first city council meeting. So this was a Halloween costume, a Red Bull terrorist bomber. Yeah. Yeah. All right. What's up? Bucky's is Rome. Imagine John Brennan putting his hands on you and giving you every legal right to throw hands. I mean, he's lucky. That guy didn't shove him. Get off of me, punk. Back up. Bucky's is Rome. Democrats had to call you fascist and Nazi for years to condition their voters that they will vote for communist radicals because the other side is Hitler. There is no putting this genie back in the bottle. And because of the millions of Democrats imported, it's going to get more popular and Republicans are too disorganized to counter it. They couldn't even get the messaging right for the Virginia's governor's race next year in 2028. Going to be insane. Well, we got elections tomorrow, and it might be a rough time for the Republicans out there. We'll see. Chubby. Yeah, Chubby Stubby, what's up? Intelligence panel? Is it a focus on the severe lack of? And what are they doing? What are they doing there? Are they going to give them some intelligence because they have none? Is there like a smart person in the room who's going to come explain to them what intelligence is? Because they haven't done a lot. Hey, what's going on? Hey, this stream has really gone downhill, says Ospac. I just got done watching this morning, the one, and it's gone from a great looking woman to some ugly bloke's mug. I might need to ask for a refund. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Love the weekend stream. Yeah, it's true. My beautiful bride, Alexis, joined us on Saturday. We talked a lot. We talked for like almost 2.5 hours, I think. It was great. And she's very good looking. So when she's not on the show and it's just me, it's a very big disappointment. I know, Ospac. Tell me about it. I got to look at myself. It's like, Ospac, thank you for that. She does do the heavy lifting on the good looking part. What's up, Doan? Hayden's knee-jerk reaction to being mistakenly implicated says everything about how he knows how much trouble that Brennan is really in. Hayden's. Who's Hayden? Do you mean Admiral Rogers? Or Comey? Thank you, Doan. Yeah, Brennan's in big trouble. Rick, what's up, Rick? Welcome aboard, Rick. See you in the members only after party. Grab the members only stream from this morning. It was a good one. Trino Galaxy says, all this just to protect a single traitor. And how dare we use his words and actions against him. Now the truth is out. Hey, lawyer Ron Coleman is in the house. What's up, Ron? Good to see you, lawyer Ron Coleman in the house. Yeah, we got married last week. It's pretty crazy, huh? I know. We did it. Somebody married me. Amazing. Trino Galaxy. All this just to protect a single traitor, and how dare we use his words and actions against him. Now the truth is out. Yeah, and methinks the lady doth protesteth too much. He then starts to pound the table. Okay, got good facts, pound the facts. Got good law, pound the law. Got neither one of those things, just pound the table. And pound the dude's chest. Man. John. Hey, Quadcam. That's a great comment. Brennan has all the classic earmarks of a traitor. It's true. Yeah, you don't want to call him a traitor because we don't know. We don't know. He hasn't, he deserves the presumption of innocence and everything, just like anybody. But he definitely has all the hallmarks of a criminal traitor for sure. You can just see it everywhere. And I know. I bet we could get 51 people to sign a letter for that too, probably, Quadcam, with a lot more intelligence. All the classic earmarks of a traitor. Yeah, it's true. It's such a good comment. We'll use that repeatedly. Thanks for that. Bucky's is Rome. Why hasn't Pam purged all these people, especially in the Southern District of Florida? What's up, Jack Pasovic? Shout out. Is he with Turning Point now? Is that a Turning Point logo? Whoa. Hey, here's a scoop. Peter Ferrand, the head of the criminal division in Florida, donated $2,300 to Kamala. She's going to be in charge of newly impaneled grand juries. Jack, good find on that. Yeah, that person should be removed immediately. Somebody donated $2,300 and they work as a prosecutor in any district in the United States. Just good game. Thanks for playing. Thanks for hiding. But we found you. You know what has to happen, right? So just go. Yeah, we don't even need to talk about it. Just pack your bags and get out. Look at that, man. All those donos. That's a good place to start. Somebody should look at every prosecutor's donations, and just like they did the same thing. Okay, when they came in, they just used fake excuses. They said, well, J6 affiliated, gone. Didn't want to take the jab 35 times in the neck, gone. They purged the military. They were firing everybody for their, justifications. So we need to clean house too. Newbie. 13 months as a membo, Baker's dozen. Congrats on the marriage. Thank you. Try staying off the couch. Yeah. I kind of like the couch, actually. It's, it's a little change, kind of like the change where I'm sleeping sometimes. You fall asleep on the couch. You ever notice sometimes you can just fall asleep on the couch, and then if you move to your bed, you're like, I'm going to go take a proper nap, which we don't do a lot here. But then you move to your bed and you're like, suddenly you're awake. How come the couch can be so alluring? Don't. Episodes, but not for the reason you're saying. You don't want to sleep there because, you're in conflict with your wife. Don't. Episodes of the Dan Bongino show from 2016 up to his appointment as the deputy director. They'll fill you in completely along with his books Spygate and Exonerated from Dan Bongino. Good plugs there, Doan. From Dan. Yeah, and they're still doing his show, right? Vince is handling those now. What's going on? Terry Garrett. What's up, Terry? We'll see you in the members only after party. Welcome. Thank you for becoming a supporter. Grab the members only stream. We'll see you in a bit. And the Rubos. What's going on over here? Trump just posted this. Comey expected to work for President-elect Clinton. Knew the top aide was talking to the media. Emails. Yeah, no, I think that is 100% true. All these guys thought, even Pencil Neck Schiff. Remember, he thought that he was going to, I think, be Hillary's CIA director. Schiff had a meltdown after the election because he's like, I'm in big trouble. They're going to rig the election, and then as long as they win, they can cover up the rigging. Just like taking the big screen out on Black Friday. NY Renal. Is this motion from Letitia some sort of weird motion in limine? She forgets she is the defendant, not the prosecutor. It's a weird Abby Lowell motion. Abby's very aggressive. I don't think he's very good just based on his trajectory, his record. Hunter got convicted. Menendez got convicted. And more. So, all right, he can represent Bolton and Letitia and all of them for all we care. It's a weird... I think they were just trying to capitalize on the situation. Like Lindsay Halligan had these texts that made the news. So like, we're just going to capitalize on this and shackle the government, put some more restrictions on them, maybe find a sympathetic judge, but it obviously didn't work out. And why? Thank you for that. Dark Ginger. Have you gotten used to the wedding ring yet? Yeah, I think that I have. When I take it off to pump iron, I feel a little, I'm like, I'm missing something. But then I put it back on. I'm like, what's on my finger? So it's very much manic. It's up and down, I think, really. 28 months. Dark Ginger. Man, amazing. Thank you for being here. 28 months. I don't know how many babies that is. I got to calculate that with the calculus aider. Sev Russ, LGBTQ, my booty. Enough said. MYAASS, I think. LGBTQ, MYAASS. ASS. I think that's probably where that's going. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot. And I think we covered it here, but I think the L's and the G's and the B's have broken up with the T's and the Q's. Last I heard, but I don't really know. So it's a complicated thing. There's so many letters. Who can keep track? Judith Aspen. What's up, Judith? Thank you, Judith. Welcome aboard. We'll see you in the after party coming up soon. Just a few minutes. Britt is here. What a nice pair of dolphins, Britt. Britt Cormier. Thank you, Britt, for this one. Says James needs to learn how to not self-snitch. The reason she included the obey the law and keep a log of journalists is because she would break the rules and leak info to the press. A thief thinks everyone is a thief. That's such a great comment, Britt. Yeah. She's like, when I was prosecuting Trump, I was communicating with every single media person I possibly could every day. Hey, if I'm doing on Trump, leaks everywhere. Remember? There were leaks everywhere. We were covering stuff. We're like, how is this information even coming out? It's not even in the docket yet. So that makes sense. She's like, I know what I would do, so I'm just going to try to stop them from doing what I have already done. Very smart. Yeah, that makes sense. Britt Cormier. And I wonder if she'll try to find the nipple judge, just like she did in her other case. Sharpie guy, what's going on? Rob, the highlight of my Saturday was tuning in with you and Alexis on Saturday. It was great. And if you guys are not membos and you want to watch it, we have the full thing up on our Substack, no paywall. It's all available. So if you want to go check it out, it's over there. Links in the description. And you can watch it. Awesome conversation and thoroughly entertaining. And she's amazing, obviously. Yeah, that's why it was so good. Y'all stay blessed. And Rob, don't you dare let her down. Blessings, y'all, and hugs from Hello Sharpness, my old friend in Texas. Good to see you, Sharpie guy. I won't, I promise. Yeah, what's up? Brian Hinkle. Good to see Brian Hinkle. Thumbs up to you. Nice painted nails over there. Looking fabulous as always, Brian. What's going on? Thanks for the dono. Thanks for being a membo. Rel is here. Re-Lan-Tel. Rel Antel in the house. 5 new membos coming in. Thank you, Rel. Golden Gaming is here. Denny Bacon. What's up? Miss B. We got James 1066. Nikki Kamza all in the house. Gifted courtesy of Re-Lan-Tel. Thank you for doing that. Friends, we'll see you in a few minutes. And have an amazing after party coming up. Da ham knit Baba. Oh, it's that guy from that one TV show. Hey, what's up? Thanks for gifting a membo. Donna Greathouse, welcome aboard. Gifted a membo courtesy of Babe in the house. We got God Bless America. Amen to that. 9 months. That's a full baby. Happy new baby, newborn to us. God Bless America. It's been a long time, my man. Thanks for being here. Hey, what's up? This is the... this is what they tried to do with Kamala and Joe Biden. They took Joe Biden's, it wasn't a golden head. It was more like a styrofoam head. And then they tried to put Kamala on it, which is a whole different, thing. So didn't work out for their party and they had to run away. Swap part. Congratulations on the marriage. I did the same this past July. Whoa. Love is in the air. Swap part. Thank you for the nice dono, my man. We appreciate that. Very nice of you to do that. Congratulations to you and your lovely bride or husband. I don't know what gender you are. Swap part. I don't want to presume, but thank you so much. Thank you for the nice dono and really congratulations. Love is in the air, man. Get married. I think have babies, all the things is what they're saying. It's hot right now. It's hot right now, baby. It's the golden age. Glad to be a part of it as another married couple. Swap part. Congratulations to you both. And thank you for the nice dono. Very nice of you. And my friends, let's see what's cooking over on X. And then it's after party time because we got some stuff to hang out and talk about, no doubt. OTR Smokehouse. Yeah, stupid time change. I know, Arizona doesn't change. We don't change. We're not going to. No. We're digging our heels in too, just like John Bolton. Good afternoon, evening, Rob. Stupid time changes, hitting the rewind button, and here's to month 10, telling month 9 to hold my beer. God bless everyone. God bless you back, OTR. Thanks for saying what's up over there. Fred Pedamonte. Watergate was some aides of Nixon that tried to bug the headquarters is light years worse than the Watergate cover-up. Russiagate, I hate that term, is light years worse than Watergate. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, when it's like, this is worse than Watergate. It's like 1,000 times worse than Watergate. I made this family friendly. Here. This is from Two Pups. Okay, explain it again. Feels like 5 o'clock dinner time, but it's really 4 o'clock. These puppies, like, what are you doing? But I'm hungry now. Sorry. Clocks change, little furball friends. Got to delay it. The pain, the agony, the pain and the agony. All right, my friends, what a bunch of great comments. Thank you so much for sending those in and for being here. We're now going to head on over to members only time. We'd love to have you join us. If you're a locals friend, hang tight. If you're a YouTube membo, it will automatically transfer you over to a new live stream, and then we'll see what you have to say, debrief, and hang out for a bit and get into it. But we'll pause here for the day. It's going to be a great week ahead. We can feel it in our bones. Before we wrap it up here, I want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Big thank yous out there to Donut Mind Me, to John, to K-Bean, to Carrie B. We got Muffin Rando in the house, Neuro D, Dog Digger, Janek, G-Gum, Just Rhonda, Elliot, all helping out on the stream. And we're grateful for everybody who's here and joining us as we go through all of the business that we have to attend to. But we're going to pause here for the evening. Of course, we're coming back tomorrow to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, and if you're looking for something else to watch, make your way over to lawyer Ron Coleman's channel. Awesome dude, great lawyer, smart man, and handsome too. So good to see you, Ron. Thanks for jumping in our chat and saying hello and having some fun. But we'll leave it here on the day, my friends. We're coming back tomorrow. We're going to get into it again. And in order to do that appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers, truth on our side. Watching the watchers, we won't be denied. Watching the watchers, eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see